Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and here's a quick recap of the 6 cards I'll be making in today's video. This is part 2 of my first set of cards using Kendra's card challenge number 9 and combining it with the Tonic Craft Kit number 61 as well as the So Happy showcase. Let's make this. Okay, so starting with sketch number 4, I've already prepared everything in advance. So if you want to see my process for picking papers and cutting the 6 sheets of 6x6 papers, then go back to video number 1. I'll link to that in the description box below, and in that one, you'll see me choose my papers, cut all 6 sheets, and as well the first 3 cards that are that we have sketches for. If you're not familiar with Kendra's card challenge, it's put on by Cards by Kendra. She has a YouTube channel here as well, and it's fantastic because every quarter she releases a new one. It's totally free. You can download the PDF. Everything will be in the description box below. And the idea of it is that she gives us a cutting guide for trimming down 6 sheets of pattern paper. And then she also gives us card sketches, and that's what you see off to the left here. And using the cuts that you make, she has, in this quarter's challenge, 15 card layouts that you can follow along with. And so really fantastic. And in this particular sketch, I am kind of altering it a little bit. As you can see, I've staggered my 2 rectangles a little bit differently from how you see it on the sketch. And you can always do that with card sketches. Just use them as a starting point to kind of get your creative juices flowing. And because I wanted to use this really cool bottle that came in Tonic Craft Kit number 61, I wanted to, for whatever reason, to my eyes, it looks a little bit better tilted to the right, with the top of the bottle tilted towards the right. And I wanted my 2 rectangular boxes to kind of mimic that, that angle. And it's really wonderful. This craft kit also comes with these banners. There's actually 2 banner dies. One that has a single fishtail that's larger, that's this one here, and then in the die set there's also a second banner die that's smaller and has double fishtail ends. And the sentiment stamp also has some really fun sentiments that are a little bit, I think some of them are kind of general, but most of them are a little bit themed towards Message in a Bottle, which is the name of the craft kit. Now on to sketch number 5. So in this sketch, I am using some more pattern paper that came from, this is actually the Coral Skies trend that released last year with the Message in a Bottle craft kit number 61. And this navy blue with the, I guess it looks like stitching lines. It almost looks like kind of like a pinstripe suit almost. And that's what makes me think of, I think it's that particular pattern paper that makes me think of the sewing kind of motif. And that's why in my set of 15 cards, I've actually, for some of the cards, I've used the So Happy showcase die set, which I happen to have picked it up during the vault, the last time Tonic had a vault sale, but it's actually still available. I just checked, at least at the time of this recording, which I'm actually recording this in advance of when it will be published, but I'll link to it in the description box below if it is still available for purchase. But it's really great. It's a huge die set with a stamp set as well. And you'll notice in the sketches that For example, this one where you see those different shades of gray and white, that is designer's choice. So you can use whatever papers or backgrounds you want to complete your card. That yellow strip of paper is the actual one of the, or a piece from one of the 6 initial sheets of pattern paper that I chose. And so you can see that with the addition of some other pattern papers, it really does push this more towards the sewing theme. I really think that sort of navy pinstripe pattern really reinforces the theme, which is pretty fun, I think, this particular showcase die set, because it does come with the die that will cut out that zipper, the zipper teeth, to make it seem like you this is maybe a jacket or something that has the zipper pulled down. And there's even a die that is your zipper pull. And so I've cut that out of some silver mirror card, and I offset the zipper teeth a little bit. The die does have the full, it actually worked out perfectly for this little square piece here, but the die is symmetrical, so it's just that I pushed it a little bit towards the right because I knew I wanted to collage up some of these really fun sewing themed die cuts off to the left here. And this little collage of items is sort of how I'm interpreting the 2 little circles that you see in the sketch. So you've got a bunch of different buttons, you've got the thimble, a ball of yarn, gorgeous ornate scissors, even that safety pin. It's just so cute, so fun. And the sentiment also comes with that So Happy showcase set. So that one reads, tailor-made just for you, which is also really perfect to stamp on the back of your cards too. And I added a little bit of diamond glaze onto my buttons just to give them that sort of kind of that plasticky shine. And then I'm gonna put my drops a little bit differently than the sketch because the pinstripes are running vertically, so I wanted my drops to kind of go with that. Okay, so now on to sketch number 6, and again, this is another one where there's a lot of gray and white, so that means there's a lot of opportunity to bring in your own pattern papers, bring in your own, maybe an embossed background, maybe an inky background, whatever you'd like to complete the sketch with. Here I've got some solid color cardstock that I actually went through my stash of Crafter's Companion papers because I get a lot of their craft kits as well. And I find that when I need like a very specific match, that going through that set of papers, I can often find something because they make their solid color cardstock very, very specific to match the pattern papers that come in the kit. And so there's lots and lots of different shades to pick and choose from. This lovely, lovely sailboat is a die from the Tonic Craft kit, which I think the name of the kit is Message in a Bottle, but the kit number is 61, I believe. And so I thought it was really kind of fun to push this a little bit towards, because I do know there are some women in my family who love to sail, and so that's what made me think of when I started this card, because I wanted to push it a little bit more for my aunt, my husband's aunt really, and I thought she would really love this. So sailing, you know, it can be for anyone who has that interest, and that's why I love the coral skies. And And it's funny, I love that these papers from Tonic are double-sided because as you saw, I did flip that over and then even though I was planning on using the side that was more predominantly blue, I decided to instead use what would have been the back. So I always feel like it's a really good sign of a well-designed paper pad when you turn it over to put your glue down and then that's the side you end up using face up. So as I was saying, I really love the Coral Skies color trend because it's got the really lovely coral colors, which I think have those really nice shades of pink, but then it's got your dark navy blues too, so you can kind of push this towards whichever spectrum you like in terms of when you're making cards to suit somebody's kind of favorite colors or theme. So really, really fun. And I love this sentiment too. We'll get a close-up look at that towards the end. Okay, so now we're on to sketch number 7, and this is another really fun one. It does feature 2 of the pattern papers. So we've got paper C and paper D. So that's going to take up most of our card here. And what I wanted to bring in where you see that sort of wavy line, that would have actually really been perfect for the kind of the water sea theme of the craft kit. But because I've got another strip of that pinstripe navy blue paper, again, it just made me think of sewing, and I have this bit of trim that is, I think I got it from the Dollar Tree, and I have yet to use it, and it's just a really lovely ivory, and looking at it now, I feel like I should have flip this the other way so that that sort of zigzag edge is towards the bottom, but I didn't think of that at the time. So it's one of those things where, you know, when you look at your card after the fact, sometimes you kind of wish you had done things a little bit differently. But on the whole, I still really love how this card turned out. And what I'm doing is just putting some of my low profile foam, because that bit of trim does have some thickness to it. So I'm just putting some foam around it, so that when this gets applied to my card base, it's a little bit more flush. And you don't have that bump that would be created by the trim that I've wrapped around to the back of this panel. And so get that nice and centered and glued down, and then I will follow along with the sketch this time and use the circle shape that they've indicated. And there is also a size recommendation when you see those shapes, but definitely feel free to use any shape you want. And this lovely dress is a stamp with coordinating die that does come in the So Happy Showcase set. And what I did was I stamped it onto some pattern paper. This is one of the pattern papers from the Coral Skies trend. And then I stamped just the top portion from some light pink solid color cardstock. And then I stamped a third time from the same pearlescent paper that I have used in the background. And that I used for just that little band that goes right above the waist of the skirt. So that way I have sort of just created my own dress with by paper piecing, and I didn't even have to color in the stamped image. And now with this circle piece, I've just used again just some additional cardstock so that I can add a little bit of thickness for where that circle die cut needs to kind of get attached to the card base, because it's going right over that bit of trim. So anytime I'm sticking something down to a surface that is uneven, I try as best as I can, and it's okay if it's not perfect, but I try to level off that that change in thicknesses so that you get a piece that's as flush as possible. And I've got some Nuvo drops that I've already pre-made on. This is just some double-sided adhesive paper liner. So I buy adhesive on a wide roll, and I save the paper liner that's on the back, and I make my drops on there. That way they if a drop doesn't turn out well, I don't have to use it. Also, then I can just audition the drops, as you saw me do here, where I move them around a little bit, and I can fiddle with it before committing to it. So I love doing that. Now onto sketch number 8. So here's another fun one. It's got a pretty unusual shape in the center there. I didn't want to have to cut out that shape, so I'm just going to use an oval. And here we have, again, that this might be one of my favorite pattern papers from the set. And what's neat about this sketch is that it does show you that if you are planning to have a die cut shape, whatever it is, you can kind of give the impression of a full strip of paper, running behind it by using just 2 smaller strips off to the side, because most of that strip would get covered anyways, and no one would ever really know that it's not a full strip of paper that goes all the way from left to right. And so when I see sketches like this and how it's been used, it does kind of translate to a general tip that I can kind of take with me in my other card making outside of following along with this challenge, because it's a great way to use up your scraps. It's a great way to, let's say you're using some specialty card, that you don't have to use a full strip of specialty card. If you really want to conserve it, you can just use a bit on either end of this, in my case, the oval die cut. So I love seeing that, because it's a nice reminder of this really cool trick for, getting the most out of your papers, or using up those small scraps that you may not know what to do with. And the dolphin, the waves, and the birds in flight, those are all from the craft kit 61. So anytime you see something that's kind of themed, water themed, sailing themed, that's all from the craft kit. Anytime you see anything that's sewing themed, that's all from the So Happy showcase. And kind of late in my card making, but I decided I want to emboss my sentiment right in the kind of the waves here. And so I've got some just white embossing powder, and the Thinking of You sentiment, I think that's from the craft kit. So I'm going to try to knock off carefully the excess, and I'm going to try to be really careful when I apply the heat to this. You really want your heat gun to warm up so that it doesn't have to actually take as long to melt that embossing powder, especially since I did use some pearlescent specialty card. That coral is a specialty card, and so I wanted to just be careful that I don't apply too much heat to that, because sometimes, just depending on the specialty card, it can have unexpected results. So just be careful with your heat. And the Nuvo drops that I'm using now, the color trend does have a blue glitter drop that's part of the trend. I think it's called Velvet Evening. But the one that I found myself using more often actually was the Night Sky glitter drop. It was just a darker navy blue that I felt like just kind of matched a little bit better. But I do love having both as an option. Okay, so now we're into card sketch number 9, and this one's going to be a sewing themed one, as you can see here. And here again, I am choosing, so there's the 2 pieces that are actually from the original 6 sheets of pattern paper that I chose are that navy blue pinstripe paper. This one that I'm putting down now, this other stripy one, that one I've pulled from the Coral Skies paper pad, just as some additional papers to fill out this card sketch. And then this is an interesting one. So it's a square cut, but tilted on a diagonal so that you display it as a diamond instead of as a square. So I never think of that as an option when I'm using my squares and my rectangles, but it does offer something different and is a nice fun way to kind of change things up a little bit. And I do think that using pattern papers that are double-sided can really be a fun way to follow along with Kendra's card challenge, because then you have the option of both sides, especially for a piece like this where you can maybe one side had a specific orientation and the other side is more flexible. Then you can always kind of keep that in mind when you're choosing your papers, like what's on the back side, and can you use that instead if you flipped it around. So I always try to play with the challenge with double-sided papers, because I feel like that just gives me more options when I go to actually make my cards. And these fun little elements are some of the stamps that you get from that So Happy Showcase set. Now, these I did have to fussy cut, so that little pincushion and the spool of thread, I stamped and did a little bit of no-line coloring, I suppose. I happen to have an Aquaflow pen that matched the ink color that I stamped with. And so that I fussy cut by hand because there isn't both of those. There aren't coordinating dies to go with it. But I really love that button die. You see me using it a lot. So that wraps up sketch number 9. Here's a final recap of all 6 cards that I made in today's video. If you have a favorite, I would love to know. Just leave me a comment in the on this video below. And I have one more video to finish up this series, and you'll see the last 6 card sketches in Kendra's card challenge number 9. So when that video goes live, I'll be sure to come back to this video and I'll add a link to it as the suggested next video to watch. But until then, if you want to check out more of the cards that I've made where I've played along with Kendra's card challenge, you can do that in by checking out my playlist at the end of this video. Thanks again. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.